Previous homeowner wants to come back and take their landscaping. Received a peculiar message this morning from the previous owner of my home. They want to know if they can come take the hydrangea bushes from the backyard and front of the house as they are of sentimental value. We're talking at least half a dozen bushes. The kind that grow like trees. They're massive and they are part of the charm of our little cottage, and frankly I don't want to see them go. I feel that I bought the property landscaping included. We've lived here for 2 years and this is the first we've heard of the sentiment attached to these plants. I'd be willing to offer a cutting from one of the plants. But I'm so afraid if I give an inch, they'll take a mile. It just rubbed me the wrong way that they felt they could ask for my landscaping. Do not, I repeat, do not let them have the bushes. You bought them fair and square. It's been 2 whole years. And they are deluded to ask you for them. Give the cutting. Yes. But not the bushes. Even giving a cutting is beyond what you owe them. Because what you owe them is diddly squat. Make it 100 abundantly clear to them that those bushes are staying right where they are. Put up cameras like yesterday, because they sound like they'd just come and take them. I had purchased a home with large landscaping rocks in the backyard. Look very nice. 3 months after I purchased the home, the old owners showed up and said they were here to take the rocks. I told them to F off. They were never mentioned in the contract and would leave the yard looking like crap. They left pissed and cussing, saying they would be back with the police. That was over 10 years ago and I haven't seen them since. Unless it states it in the contract, it was included in the same. You bought the house and property. They included the landscaping. If they had wanted any of it, the time to take it was when they moved out of the home. Before you closed on the house. The landscaping is yours. Tell them no. And if they try to take it anyway, you will have them arrested for trespassing. It isn't their property anymore. And they are not entitled to anything on it. I have my house on the market. The roses in the front were a present from my husband. I already have some cuttings in a pot growing for when we move. I will be doing the same with a magnolia tree my husband also gave me. The original roses and magnolia stay with the house. Not a chance. They could have taken one before you took possession, and even that wouldn't agree with me unless it was mentioned when the contract was signed. I wouldn't even offer them cuttings. I once bought a house where 2 specific bushes did not convey with the sale of the house. But it was spelled out in the contract. The prior owner moved them in the fall so that they had a better chance of survival. Since that is not the case here, I would tell them no in writing. And set up cameras and no trespassing signs. I could see asking for a clipping to propagate it perhaps, but asking for 6 bushes is a bit strange. And a ton of work to dig them up. When we bought our house and got possession, we saw that the old homeowners tore down and took the shed. Like, WTF, people are wild. The audacity. I see no harm in asking for clippings, but no to removing all of the bushes. We rented a house that my wife's friend was vacating. Months after moving in, we woke up to half the flowers dug up and missing. We thought it was the landlady. Until the previous renter wife's friend came back that evening to get more. 2 years later? Nope, tell them no. Set up cameras, in case they try to take them. Yeah, no. The time to remove those was before the sale closed. I have heirloom peonies in my yard that have moved from house to house. They're on house 7 now. And they've been in my family for 70 years. Before the outside listing photos are taken, we've transplanted them and replaced with other plants. Before any buyers see the property, they are gone, not after. This is how it's done. You have 2 options now: tell the previous owners no, thank you, or have the bushes and replacement cost appraised and tell them the price plus A for your time and trouble. I would not give permission to take a cutting, as they may creatively misinterpret that permission to your detriment. No is a complete sentence. You bought and now own the property. Nope, nope, nope. They have no right to your bushes. Not even a little. But they do have a lot of audacity. I, too, left my beautiful hydrangeas behind when I sold my house, and I miss them. But I have no right to them. Not even a cutting. Before the new owners closed on the house, I told my mom that I wanted to dig up one of the hydrangeas and a few daisy plants, and she pointed out that unless it was in the contract, I cannot remove anything from the property. I am not an attorney, but in the U.S., all things attached to the property, appliances, landscaping, etc., are presumed to be part of the sale unless specifically exempted from it. Landscaping always goes with the house. If I were you, I would start the cuttings. As some people don't do ir right and the die. Give them cuttings with roots and tell them now you're in your own. Any other communications will be done through our lawyers. You are right. They'll try to keep on messing with you. After 2 years? Must be really attached to them sentimentally. Yeah. Nah. Go away or I shall taunt you a second time. They can't take the bushes. But they can have supervised visits every other weekend. Cuttings that you cut come spring. They are super easy to propagate, and it covers the sentimental value. It is literally the exact same plants. They grow super fast too. Unless they want to pay for a landscaping company to remove the bushes and re-landscape your home. I can't believe they have the nerve to ask you to tear up your yard and offer you zero. I would write them a letter telling them absolutely not. And if they plan on stealing them anyway, all legal avenues will be taken as a result. I wouldn't even respond to those people. When I bought my home, prior to our closing, the previous owner said they forgot that they wanted to keep a specific light fixture, and offered an amount that was clearly higher than our cost to replace it would be. We said no problem. They kept the fixture. We got a new one and got a bit of money back. That's how these things should work. If the seller forgets something they want. LMFAO. Wait, they want to come and dig up and remove your fully grown hydrangeas? Zero mention of compensation? Rolling on the floor laughing. Just say no. These people clearly have no boundaries if they think they can ask for 6 adults' bushes. After 2 years. This is easy. No. Don't even allow them to come to your house. If it was in the written-in sale of the home, maybe. 2 years later, nope, not one bit. Do you have a Ring doorbell or cameras around your house? Motion sensor lights? They may try a sneak attack late at night or early morning or while you're gone. Unless it was in the final contract during the sale, then it's a no dog. Do not let them tear up your yard for some strange sentimental reason. Also, who knows what their value is? An old coworker of mine bought a house and had no idea the trees in the back were rare Japanese trees worth thousands each, until his landscaper told him about it. Turns out the former owner was big into rare trees, and the value of his house jumped up due to it. They just don't want to pay to landscape their new house. They think they can get a good deal, aka free plants. Landscaping isn't free and never should be. Just say no. Or even better, tell them each bush cost 10x the going rate for the same one at a nursery. Lol. Sentimental value of something you didn't care about for 2 years. Nope. Sounds like the new place needs sprucing up and they found out the quote was cheaper for fully grown plants if they ripped existing ones out of the ground and replanted. No way. I wouldn't even allow clippings. You are under no obligation to accommodate them. However, get some quotes to replace the installation and then tell them they can certainly buy them for that price, plus the cost of restoration. Don't say no. Say how much. 2 years? No way should you let them have those bushes. When we were moving, I specifically listed my hostas were not part of the house and were going with me. They could have done the same, but didn't. Now they're sentimental about them? They probably priced out buying bushes the same size and had a stroke. So figured they'd come get their old ones. I had this at my house. They moved a street over and to this day scowl as they walk past. For us it was palm trees and we said no when they knocked on a year later. We would hang our Xmas lights on them and didn't trust that they'd not leave a mess removing them. I think any more than a couple months and it's not a good ask. They should have it written into contract if they wanted them, considering the sentimental value. I'd be very interested to know what sentimental value the bushes could possibly offer 2 years after the completion of sale. Did their dog piss on the bushes and recently pass away? My best guess is that they have realized how expensive they would be to buy and are trying their luck. Tell them no. And if any are accessible, consider getting a camera or a Ring doorbell. If they have the audacity to even ask, they'll likely find the audacity to just take. No, we are not interested in selling our hydrangea bushes. Take copious amounts of photos of the bushes. They may try to take them when you're not home. If they sent a written request for the bushes, preserve it. I'd start putting up cameras just in case they start trying to damage them or uproot them. Sounds like somebody just learned that plants can be pretty frigging expensive. So now the free plants they know of suddenly have sentimental value. Sure, I just bet they can go pound sand before they'd be let into my backyard. Well, I can ask, but they are 100 your property to do with as you wish. I think giving them cuttings is more than generous. On the other hand, what they are asking for seems rather outrageous. I doubt I would have the nerve. My friend's brother had all his landscaping stolen. Nice bushes, hedges, flowering trees, everything just dug out of the ground and off it went. Hydrangea can be propagated with a cutting, i.e. cloning. They can simply take some cuttings and root then and have the same plants. Good God. Can you imagine? Who even thinks about taking landscaping with them when they move? Large bushes at that? I have irises and peonies I transplanted years ago from my husband's aunt and grandmother's homes. And while I'd probably dig up a few while thinning, I'd never think of taking the entire lot of them. Tell those people to take it up with a lawyer. That those plants conveyed with the property 2 years ago SMFH. They belong to you. It doesn't matter if the previous homeowner raised them on the tears of a virgin at moonlight every other Thursday. They are your property. I'd offer them a cutting that you take, but that's it. This person probably priced landscaping and decided to run a game on you to save money. There is no way their mental gymnastics game is that good. Cutting is beyond fair. However, you could contact a nursery and get a quote and pocket some cash for the sale. Get money up front and hire the arborist yourself. These cannot be considered an emblem on and conveyed with sale. You can set a price on their sentimental value. Get a no trespass order from local law enforcement and have them served. Really good chance they will just show up and try to steal the bushes. I bought my niece a rosebush years ago when she and her mom moved to Texas. I was nearby this weekend and asked the current owner if I could have 3 cuttings from it. Asking to remove almost a dozen bushes is insane. After 2 years, there's no sentiment there. They probably decided they want hydrangeas again and then saw the price of them to buy. Negative, they can go pound sand. They want their cake and to eat it too. You can't sell grandma's house for the fat check then scream sentimentality when somebody's new sill wants the old bushes. No, 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 no. And in case it's not clear, no. If they were so sentimental, then removing them would have been part of the contract. It would have been mentioned in the same conversations. Here it is 2 years later and they want their plants. No, they lost out after so much time. Get cameras to make sure they come one day and leave you with holes in your property. Tell the previous owner to lose your number and go F themselves. Unless you want to take the other advice and offer the shrubbery at a high price, and then tell them to go F themselves. As my realtor said when selling my house, everything is negotiable. Don't just let them go. Install some cameras, you're gonna need them. Trust me. Ask our tree law. Landscaping is worth a lot, especially mature landscaping. Even a small hydrangea bush can be expensive. Years-old big bushes would be very expensive. They probably just want them at their new house without the expense of having to buy mature plants. Tell them no, and that if your bushes disappear from your property, that you will call the police. If the bushes were really that sentimental, they'd have taken them when they moved. I bet the sentimentality came when they looked at the price tag associated with buying old growth replacements that they miss from the old house. Edit. Make sure your exterior cameras get upgraded so you know exactly who and how if they ever come up missing. If they were that sentimental, they'd have gotten them the first spring or said something during the sale. Sounds like they recently purchased a new home that needs some landscaping. Call a landscaping company and get bid to replace the bushes with equivalent ones. Ask about a 1-year warranty to make sure they take root. This 10 for your inconvenience is what I would counter with the actual value of the bushes. I would guess it's well beyond what they're willing to pay. Mature plants are of significant dollar value. Sentiment, my butt rolling on the floor laughing. Landscaping is considered chattel and comes with the purchase of the property unless it was negotiated to be in the sales agreement between you and the previous owner. Tell them no, and casually mention you have 24-hour security surveillance on your property. If they were so sentimental to them, they would have asked to take them at the time of sale. I get sentimental plants. I had a gardenia bush at our last house that I had taken from my grandmother's when she passed. It was huge. Totally had forgotten about it till months after we had moved 500 miles away. What I did was worked with the new owners. Went up, dug it out, replaced it with 3 smaller bushes for them. No. You bought those bushes 2 years ago, and probably a huge part of the curb appeal to buy that house. Those are yours now. If they wanted them and they were sentimental, they should took it before they left. They can't come in and take the fridge they left. I'm sure it's way cheaper to ripe them out of your yard than to buy new ones. I'm sure that's the true sentiment. If they try to take them, call the cops. They have no right to them legally. They are yours. As a lifelong gardener, I get why they asked, and appreciate you offering a cutting. But it is a firm and hard no on removing the plants if you want to keep them. I know what happened here. The former owners went to a local plant nursery to buy some hydrangeas for their new house, and found out what large, established ones cost, so decided that it would be better for them to take the ones at the house they sold 2 years ago for free. Put some cameras up in case they come back for dug up a very large, rare and expensive hosta that was in my sister-in-law's yard. It does happen. When I moved into our new house, I took my sentimental landscaped plants with M.E. gladiolus. My husband thought I was crazy, but I had planted them and wanted them. I did it before we moved, not 2 years later. They have an ulterior motive, in my opinion. Is something buried underneath them? I'd give them cuttings, and if the shrubs produce root suckers, I might, if it's not too hot out, dig up a couple of suckers and pot them up. But to take the whole shrubs? Hell no. It's been 2 years. That ship sailed upon the house closing. Cuttings root really easily. If it wasn't in the original deed, the answer is no. Wow, that was good for a laugh. How do they plan on getting them out without a backhoe? I had to have one move to get to my septic line. They were nice enough to put it on a tarp so I could drag it to wherever I decided to put it. It took 2 people to drag the darn thing downhill to a hole. Tell them that if they are in fact sentimental and the only thing stopping them from spending thousands on similar non-sentimental hydrangeas is the sentiment, then you have no problem with them hiring a company to take out the sentimental hydrangeas and replace them with the same non-sentimental hydrangeas. At their own cost, of course. Not to mention these people likely have not idea what is entailed in transplanting mature shrubs. Trees. They'd leave your yard filled with massive ditches. That's crazy. I did buy a house once where the sellers put in the contract that they were taking a rose bush. Said it was very sentimental to them. I agreed, but they never did take it. Big nope at them. They are yours now. Do they think they can just show up with a spade and dig them up? If they tried, they'd kill them, even if you agreed. All I can imagine is a landscaping mess that looked like a tornado came through. That landscaping was part of the purchase price. Hell to the nah. The bushes are your property. I wouldn't even reply. Tell them no, they cannot come dig them up. It's been 2 years. I'd get cameras just in case. They would not be able to dig them up if the air is big as you say. You could do some cuttings, but I'd cut them and not let them near the bushes. No is a complete sentence. Tell them no. The sale that included landscaping went through over 2 years ago. Sentimental value? I don't think so. No, put a no trespassing sign and stop replying to them. They're delusional. Nope, unless it was a stipulation of the sell. They have no leg to stand on. They waited 2 years to tell you the landscaping had sentimental value. Sounds like they have seller's remorse. Buy some Ring cameras because this will happen. It's ridiculous that they want to do this instead of just buying more at a garden center. Absolutely no. My grandparents took several bushes with sentimental attachments with them and replanted something else when they moved out. Not years later. It had to be written into the house sale so there were no misunderstandings. And put up cameras to protect your house from trespassing. Tell them no, but as a compromise let them take clippings. It's very easy to propagate hydrangeas from very small clippings. I hope you have cameras on your house. Do not let them back on your property. Do not let them take anything from your property. Nope. It still would have been a no if it was 2 days past signing, but 2 years? Sorry. They don't get to destroy your landscaping because they messed up and didn't remove and replace them before listing the house for sale. Offer them seeds from the bushes. Or however they propagate. I did this with my grandparents' house that got sold. Just took a bunch of seeds and planted my own. Otherwise no. Lol. If they wanted them, they would have included them in the documents for the house. When my husband's aunt and uncle sold their house, the buyer specifically requested they leave the rose bushes BC. They wanted them. These people are not entitled to anything on your property. Please put up cameras. If it's so sentimental to them, then offer them this: they can take the old hydrangeas if and only if they first pay a landscaper to come install new ones of equivalent height, health and beauty. Part of the contract with 3 landscaper can be to dig out and transfer the bushes. They never need to come into your property. If they are sincere, this should be an attractive option to them. You don't owe them anything, of course, but if you're trying to be sincere, this gives them a benefit of the doubt option that fully protects you and leaves you in good condition going forward. It's not about sentimental value. I'm sure they wanted to do landscaping at their new property, and when they got the bill they Thought they could take advantage of you. If it really was sentimental, they would have listed it in the contract. Just say no. That type of plant is readily available. Perhaps they don't want to pay. When we left our first house, I left a yellow rose bush that was from a cutting from my great-grandfather's plant. They offered me a shoot if one came up, which I thought was kind. The wife was so excited about the beautiful rose bush that I knew it was in good hands and would be appreciated. I certainly wouldn't go back 2 years later and ask to dig it up. If it was that sentimental, it should have been part of the sale. Without telling anybody else, locate and use a good metal detector all around where the bushes are planted. OMG, we have a bunch of lovely trees that we planted from cuttings all the way to full trees. So much work and love went into them. The neighbor came over and asked if he could have one as a Mother's Day gift for his wife. Just straight up wanted one of the trees out of our yard. But you have so many. Say no. If they insist, inform that you're having cameras installed and will call the police if they trespass on your property. Don't offer them cuttings. They'll most likely ask to make the cuttings themselves. And then they'll most likely damage some of your plants out of spite. Lol. Reminds me of when we bought our home a few years back. Our home was one of the most historic in our town, dating back to the early 1910s. So you can imagine the gigantic windows surrounding the whole house. Old owners had 2 stunning stained glass inserts on the front windows by the door. Those things were insanely beautiful, heavy, and clearly crafted with love by hand. We buy the house from them. They pack up and leave. 2 months later they come back to pick up their glass panes because they were a wedding gift way back when, and they had planned to pass them on to their daughter. How the fuck do you forget your family heirloom? They're coming back to dig up the bodies before you find them. We dug out many plants before we sold our house, but we made sure to do it before it was listed so everyone knew what they were getting. It's too bad for them. Sure, but here's what I want them replaced with, and here's the people I want to do it. You can take those the moment you show up with my surefire team ready to replace them. If it meant so much to them, they would have taken them out before selling. Don't give them anything, and call the police for trespassing if they show up to your property. You own it now, not them. I'm wondering if it's something like my mom planted them and she passed away. If that's the case, then saying no, you cannot come, but I can bring you a cutting would be very kind. But definitely not the freaking plants. But that's a good idea. I might want to get some of the cuttings from plants where my parents live now, before they pass away. Absolutely not, they are part of what you paid for. Make this very clear. Don't let them take the bushes. If they were so sentimental, they would have made taking them a part of the sale agreement. Weird to ask you this, but now you know they'll be trying to steal them at some point. Previous owner of my home wanted to take the home's alarm system. You know, that thing that's literally wired into the home? She wanted to take that with her. Weird. We declined. Obviously. Yeah, no. Landscaping is part of the sale. They probably just realized how expensive they are when they are trying to landscape a new place. Say no and be sure to get some cameras. I wouldn't put it past them to do some midnight shopping. One time a neighbor of mine chopped the head off of our largest sunflower because it was taller than the fence. So, be aware. Hydrangea bushes die when dug up. I learned this when my mom asked for hers to be dug up and replanted over the other side of her garden. Shame really when it was over 20 years old. No. They sold those bushes. You bought those bushes. If they come and dig out those bushes, that is thousands of dollars of landscaping they owe you. Put cameras on those bushes. They may steal them. Which for a fully grown healthy hydrangea that's a felony. 2 years later? I wouldn't even reply. No way can they do that. Perhaps you could give them some clippings if you're feeling generous, but otherwise they can stick it where the sun don't shine. Chances are, the windows had sentimental value too. And the walls, siding, roof, x200b. Point being, if you allow them to think they're going to get away with this, what will they ask for next? I bought a house from a doomsday prepper. He sold earthquake kits etc. and was convinced the world was ending during Y2K. The wife was insanely mad they were selling. They took light fixtures and put holes in walls when they left. Just complete poop. A year later they came to the house and wanted the house back. Said they made a mistake and it was practically a gift to me. They sold it to me. Some people just don't get it. Keep away from them. Very strange request and should have been handled as part of the sale. As others mentioned, offer cuttings and put up some cameras. Landscaping comes with the property. It's no longer theirs. Sounds like they don't want to buy new bushes. You could be extremely generous and offer them some cuttings. But they may not appreciate it. I had a big letter W on my house. And a former owner's son came by and asked if he could have it for his dad. We let him have it. SND later when my daughter tried to talk to the recipient he was extremely rude. Extremely. So, lesson learned. Don't expect gratitude. You more than feel that you bought the property. You actually did buy the property. Former owners have no right to your property. If they asked for a cutting within the first year, maybe. Otherwise, hard no. Call the cops if they persist or get a camera as so many people think is the answer. A neighbor of mine had some plants stolen. A friend of the deceased former owner decided that some of the plants had sentimental value. So she showed up at night to help herself. She claimed she didn't know the house was occupied again and it was free picking. Okay, then why come at 1 a.m. and park down the street? Point is, crazy exists. Protect yourself. This conversation should have been part of the closing documents. This is the 100 above board legal way to do this. If it was 2 days or even 2 weeks after closing, I'd say maybe if you were feeling nice you could consider giving them the bushes. But 2 years later? They can fuck right off back to crazy land. Get cameras. They absolutely will try to steal these bushes after to tell them to get lost. You could sprout some cuttings. Grow them in a pot. And give them to the previous owners. Technically it's the same plant. They are pretty easy to start. Real estate attorney here. Tell them to pound sand. The contract is complete and their seller's remorse is not your problem. No. I had plants with sentimental value. My deceased grandmother's peonies, which were the only ones left 15 years after her passing. When we sold my house, I wrote it into the contract that we would come back in the fall to get them. Had a specific time frame written in for when it would be best seasonally to transplant. Then replaced with a plant the new owner chose. All of this discussed in advance and written in the sale contract. Everyone was aware before the keys changed hands. They don't get to think about it 2 years later and decide they want them. The contract for sale of the house should have listed these bushes as excluded from the sale if the prior owners wanted to keep them. Failing that, the bushes are yours and you'd be wise to decline to part with them. They definitely started their own landscaping work and realized how expensive those are. They are probably landscaping and realize how much it would be to purchase them again. Too bad. You own that property and they have no right. No, I'm sorry. It was understood they were part of the purchase of the property. And were not interested in having them dug up. My boss just told me a similar story. He did the walkthrough of his house and everything was normal. Moved in and noticed a giant hole in his backyard. The sellers had stolen an entire goddamn tree from his yard after signing, and basically the agents, sellers, lawyers and police were like, prove it. Do not let pose on your property. Possibly the most stupid thing I've heard of. Are they attached to the roof tiles as well? If the plants were so important to them, why wasn't it a part of the agreement when selling the house? Question mark. That's some BS. They have no right to come back now. Don't let them, and don't feel bad about it. 2 years? The absolute gall. Tell them to jog on. The cutting offer is perfect and honestly more than they should expect. I'd cut it for them and then hand it over or drop it by their house. Don't think I'd let them in the property though. Not the asshole. These bushes are yours. You bought them fair and square. They should have taken them with them if they are so sentimental. My mom and dad grew huge hydrangeas in our childhood home and they're very sentimental. Therefore, when I see them, I admire them lovingly. When the lady around the corner left some cuttings out, I took some and left her a thank you card. I didn't go back to my childhood home and ask to rip up their garden and take the bushes. How weird. Take a cutting and offer them that. That is how a normal person would preserve the sentiment. Lol. What are they smoking? Absolutely not. You bought them when you bought the property, and this request is insane. They can go to someone who sells trees, or they can humbly request cuttings to regrow from the same trees, and you don't even have to allow that. WTF number. No. They probably went to buy some bushes and saw how expensive they are. Not your problem. Sorry, I've already modified all the landscaping so nothing of yours is left. Or just number. It's your property. So no. But good karma rules. Since it's sentimental and I am sentimental and get that, I'd offer to give them cuttings off the plants so they can reroot them themselves. Nothing more. Absolutely not. You bought mature growth bushes. Not the little scraggly ones you'd have to get to replace them. I'll lay you odds that those bushes that just suddenly became sentimental did so because the previous owner found out how much he can get for them. Make sure you know the previous owner's contact information, and I would suggest setting up some outdoor cameras on the bushes for just in case. I've had asks like this in the past, and I've approached it the same way after the first person took advantage. Step 1: find the price to completely replace whatever the ask is. Step 2: double the price and tell them that's what it costs. Lol, what? I could see maybe asking for like a trimming of one of the bushes? Hey man, I planted those years ago and I'm feeling horrible about forgetting to bring them along to our new home. Is there any way I could possibly take a clipping from one to get them started at my new home? Sue, simple and easy civil. Good lord. It's not that you feel the bushes were included in the purchase, they were included. Last I checked, people are careful to specify what isn't included in the sale. So I don't know what the previous owners are going on about. Keep their message and proof that you told them no. Also install cameras, just in case. Ha ha ha, only if they remove and replant new ones in exchange. Elmo, people are never low on audacity. Are they going to replace them with new ones? After the sticker shock cost of landscaping at his new residence, he creates the ploy of sentimental value. Hard no. Anything on the property not agreed on in advance and included in the original contract becomes a part of the property. If it was immediately after the sale, you could possibly work something out, if you were so inclined. But it's been 2 years. The answer is no. The final word on the subject belongs to you. Lol, if it was within a month of you buying the house, I'd consider it. But 2 years later? Wahaha ha 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 ha. When I sold my house last year, I left behind 12 rose bushes 20 years old and 9 Japanese maple trees 8-10 years old. The new owner got rid of 8 of the rose bushes and 4 of the Japanese maples. Hurts me to see, and I wish I had taken some with me. But it's their house now and it would be ridiculous of me to make any requests at this point. Entitled people. One of the USPs of the house was the landscaping. If they want them, they can pay $10,000 a bush. If they're sentimental to them, then they would have no problem replacing it with something of your choosing, correct? How much is the sentimental value in cash value is how I would reply. If they are paying enough to buy new bushes to replace the old one and what you consider enough extra for your time, then maybe, but only if you want to do all that. If not, tell them get fucked. If they were so sentimental, then it would have gotten brought up during the sale. Nope, leave that one on read. The flooring in your kitchen has a lot of sentimental value to me. You're cool if I tear it up and take it with me. Right? Oh, hell no. The time to do that would have been before the house sold. After that, the landscaping belongs to the buyer. Nonsense. Absolutely not. Definitely not. Just say no. It's yours now. Tell them no. Tell them no or charge them for the bushes. You bought the house, you own the bush. If they had such sentimental value to them, they would have put it in the paperwork when you bought the house. As is. Get bent. No. You should have thought of that 2 years ago, before you sold. Offer to sell it back to them. Offer for them to pay a L&C scaper to dig up the plants, replant plants of your choosing and clean up the area. Agree, tell them no, and if you don't already have some, get cameras. I think you should let them have them. $25,000 per bush and a cash bond for $250,000 for any potential damage to your yard while removing them. And any damage has to be repaired by someone who is licensed landscaper of your choice. Sounds like someone found out how much time and effort it would take to replace them in their new home. That is crazy. I left my grandma's iris at my old house. I am very tempted to stop by sometime and see if I can get some bulbs. But in no way would I think I could get them all. Or am really even entitled to any. You bought and paid for your property. Unless it states somewhere in your paperwork that the sale didn't include the plants. They can kick rocks. This is literally laugh out loud material. 2 years? They are deranged. If there was any desire of having them, it should have been in the purchase agreement at the time of purchase. You owe them exactly nothing. That would be a big no. If they wanted the bushes or anything else, it should have been in the contract. We bought a home years ago, and before closing the sellers took out expensive Japanese maples and an adjustable overhead fan light switch in the master bedroom. The realtors did nothing about it. Nope. If they wanted them, then they should have put that in the sales agreement or taken them out prior to listing. I think the real question should be, what's buried under the hydrangeas? They would likely botch it anyway and kill the bushes. They were part of the sale and are yours. Get both a camera and a motion-operated sprinkler. I am in the process of buying a house. Everything planted in the yard stays. That's standard everywhere. We were just talking to our seller, who wanted us to understand that she is taking all the potted plants, which we had assumed, and is just fine. If something attached to the property doesn't stay, then it has to be written into the sales contract. Offering cuttings might be a kind gesture, but you have no obligation. Quote them a price. It doesn't have to be a reasonable one. No, you bought the landscaping along with the house. Wish them well and direct them to the nearest garden center. If they keep pestering you, try and plant a few cuttings and give them those, otherwise nah, you bought the property, bushes included. They went with the property. Period. I think you can propagate hydrangea from clippings pretty easily. I would simply say no. After 2 years? I'd say they're beyond the time period where that could even be considered appropriate. And as you said, you bought the home as is, which included landscaping. If they wanted them, they should have worked that into the sale of the home. No, at 2 years out they lost the rights to the plants. Tell them no. Under zero circumstances do they get your bushes, and get a lawyer quickly. If they wanted them, they should have taken them as part of their possessions when moving out. It's far too late for that. Nope. You bought them when you purchased the home. They could buy them at a very hefty price. When my parents sold their old home, the new owners took pictures of every single plant on the back and front yard. Even the plants in the pots. They couldn't maintain anything, of course. Everything is overgrown at this point, or even dried up. It's really sad because of the plants were the main charm of the house. How about no? Nope, nope and nope. 2 years later? They are idiots. Should have put it in the PS if they wanted to keep them. You don't owe them anything. Especially your plants. This is coming from someone who has a dozen small Japanese maples I'm going to try to take with me if I ever move. Absolutely not. Reply back and make it very clear that they cannot take the bushes, and if they try to, that you will involve law enforcement. Put up cameras. They may try to take them regardless. This is a bizarre request. I'm very sentimental with heirloom plants, and the house I sold last year just rang me to say they are ready to renovate the garden so I can come and collect a few plants they don't want. This was agreed before sale. If they were going to remove them, I would root 2 cuttings from each plant. It's the right time to do it, and if they ask again, offer them those. I wouldn't uproot hydrangeas before autumn, and they are certainly part of what you bought. I would also get a camera focused on them, as some people may dig them out to steal anyway. No, they went with the sale of the house. They might have had a death in the family and that member planted those bushes. And it seemed like they asked you and didn't demand them. From sure why it rubbed you wrong. Maybe you can tell them they can have them if they pay to have new ones planted. Sure. Ask them if you can have $50,000 of the sale price back. For sentimental value. Those were the dollars from when you bought your first home. Give them the cuttings and put up cameras if they balk. This is clown shit. Not just no, but hell no. Landscaping goes with the sale, and 2 years later? Double hell no. This is literally an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. He didn't say shit for 2 years? Kick rocks. Unless it's in the contract of sale. Items that convey with the property. The answer is no. They must head down to the local garden center and fall in love with new bushes. Say no. Install cameras. The best solutions I can think of is offer cuttings from each bush for them to grow a new bush off of. Or say they can buy say they have to replace hydrangeas grow like weeds, it wouldn't take too long to grow. You bought those bushes when you bought the house. Don't let the previous owner try to sweet talk their way into digging up plants that have been there under your ownership for 2 years. If they were so sentimental, they would have taken them when they originally sold the home. They can have mine. I can't keep those stupid things alive. I love hydrangeas. No. Hell no. Landscaping is part of what you paid for. You bought those bushes along with the house. Tell them to get lost. Do they know anything about plant propagation? You could give them a few cuttings if you felt like it, but you're under no obligation to, but it would be kind and your plants would be fine. Don't let them. It comes with the property. No is a complete sentence. This is how I'd probably do it. Get a quote on replacing them. Then add the percent you paid over asking when you bought the house to the quote. So if you paid 10 over asking, they need to pay to replace them 10. Anything that was not excluded in the listing agreement or noted as not included in the sale agreement conveys or transfers with the property. OP owes the former owners nothing, especially after 2 years. Agree offering them a cutting is generous. Do not let them take the bushes. They asked. You answer however you want. Sure, it's an odd request, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. They are delusional. The answer would be hell no. Oh hell no. Don't even respond to that shit. No clippings, nothing. You'll regret it. This may be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Years later they want them back. I'll echo. Tell them to fuck off and get cameras. 2 years on and they suddenly need them? Something weird there. I'm with you. A cutting at the most, you owe them nothing. What? No, just no, that's insane. In your shoes, I would definitely respond in writing and copy your lawyer on the letter you don't actually have to send it to them. Put it in writing that all landscaping was included in the sale and are not their property. Don't be vague. Be firm. Do not address their stupid 2-year-old nostalgia. You should probably put up some cameras and motion detector lights. Ugh. I can't believe someone would even ask this. Lol, nope. They can go buy plants from the store. Landscaping is a part of the home sale. They don't get to come back and steal. 3 years ago we purchased my father-in-law's home. He still lives there rent-free, but we pay all maintenance. Taxes. Made significant upgrades to make my father-in-law life easier. ECT as it's our home. Recently, 3 years later, husband's siblings have started coming over when we are not there and taking plants as they had sentiment attachments to them. One tried to take a 5-foot ponytail palm. Said their dad said they could have it. I'm like, it's not his to give. They didn't understand why I was annoyed and asked them to stop. Blows my mind. Absolutely not. I hated walking away from our former house with all the landscaping and planting we'd done. It was our dream home. But it's not ours anymore, so they are Saul. Tell them nope and move on. Hope you have cameras. If not, get them. A friend of mine bought a house years ago from someone who is, for want of a better term, batshit. The previous owner has pulled all manner of stunts similar to this, but my particular favorite is the time she tried to sell the house. My friend was somewhat surprised when the estate agent turned up. Ignore them. Don't even give them a cutting. Get cameras if you don't already have them. And be prepared to deal with a trespassing case. Unless something was legally written into the sale contract that you both signed to suggest. Otherwise, the trees are yours. Simple as that. Tell him to kick rocks. The correct answer is no. If they continue, let them know that you will call the police and prosecute if they steal your landscaping. I'd say no, but I'm happy to give you a cutting to start. Aegean hydrangeas are really easy to take a cutting from. I feel like they should have apologetically requested some cuttings for sentimental reasons. And then also acknowledge how long it has been. Then you could suggest they use a picture this app so they could buy the same varietals again and recreate their collection. When I moved out of my house, I dug up everything I wanted from my garden. It has also taken me years to get the courage to ask my neighbor for a cutting from his spectacular hydrangea. I mean, dig yours up? Way out of line. Rude. Entitled. Condescending and weird. No. They were sold as part of the property. I would offer to sell if you weren't that attached. They have to remove and make good the area afterwards, and zero guarantee of successful Transplanting. Go to a plant center. Find a plant of roughly the same size, doesn't matter what, look at the price and triple it. Sell them if you want. They are yours. They can buy new bushes with the money you already gave them. Let them take clippings. Most plants are able to be propagated from clippings. Nope, hard nope. They should have taken them when selling, not 2 years after. You may want to set up cameras discreetly if you come home one of these days and find the landscaping gone. You'll need evidence for police. Don't let them. They should have put that in the contract if they wanted them so badly. So I doubt they really have any sentimental value. Put cameras up in case they try to steal them. Hydrangeas can be propagated from cuttings. You could tell them you'll take some cuttings from the bushes for them to grow. I wouldn't offer to let them do the clipping because they might go overboard. If you cut them, you have control over how many you give and where they are cut from. What? No. That's like buying a car and after couple of years calling, I want the wheels, exhaust and the interior back. Sentimental value and all that, you know? If they actually wanted the shrubs, they should have included that in the terms of the sale. It's too late, and they'll have to take your answer as a no. Make sure you have all this in writing in case things get weird. They bought a new house with no plants and want to save money. Tell them to send their address and you'll ship cuttings. Hard no if they didn't list these sentimental bushes in the exclusions of the contract. Don't give them away. Wow. If they were that sentimental, they would have taken them with them when they moved or negotiated for them in the sale. 2 years later. Not that special to them. No. You bought the property and the bushes are part of it. Sentimental. Oh, you can do that? I visited my childhood home after 40 years and was so proud to see the oak trees that I had watched my mother plant when I was a child. They had grown to soar above the rooftop. Maybe I should go get those back, too. SOFC. You literally bought them. Sentimental or not, they are yours and you don't owe them anything. Offer to sell them to them because they belong to you. Offer the sale contingent on getting a fair price for them. Then decide what you think is a fair price. I would say $1,500, $3,000 per shrub. If you don't want them to take them, offer them at $6,000 per shrub and require them to replace them with something too. Make it so. If they really want them, they can have them and you'll make out like a bandit. Aside from getting cameras covering the plants, do the following. Get or make some signs about 12 in diameter that state do not remove at the order of current property owners under threat of charges of theft and place them directly in front of the plants and easily visible. I can see either the old owners just showing up and trying to take the plants or sending a plant removal company to do it. The sign will alert both and definitely give pause to any business. Reply lol no. Everyone in the comments is like your neighbor sounds like an unstable psychopath. I don't agree. It's a weird ask. That's all. It's your choice whether to offer a cutting. It would be kind. But it's your right not to. Even if you do, you don't need to let them touch the bushes. You can take the cutting yourself. Nor do you need to install cameras, barbed wire, or landmines. Let there be a problem before you go and create a problem. 2 years? Thumbs down no. I feel like she waited for them to grow and now she wants them for her own yard. She should have excluded them from the sale of the house if she wanted them so bad. They are yours and have been yours since the day you signed the paperwork. I hope it all works out for you. Second, the camera installation. Absolutely not. When we bought our house, the seller asked if they could come back and take the outdoor fire pit. We were fine with that because it wasn't a feature we wanted. The reason they had to come back for it is because we bought the house in February in Wisconsin. It was a pre-existing agreement. That is the only way I would allow anything like this. You can offer them to take starters from the plant? This compromise may satisfy them and no loss to you. They will have the actual plant, just not all of it. Before we sold our grandmother's house, we took what we needed and wanted. Once you sell the house, it's not your property anymore. Don't let them take them. They should have thought of that beforehand. Wow. If they didn't make arrangements to move them at the time of sale, they don't in any way get to decide, oh, those bushes would look lovely in that space, we can just give them a load of BS and they will let us take them. No, trespassing is not on, nor is theft. Absolutely not. Don't let them take them. If they wanted them, they could have made those arrangements prior to selling the house. They are yours now and they have no right to them. I would politely refuse and then gauge their response. If they don't take the rejection well, I'd be putting some camera up in the yard. No way. Don't do it. I guarantee you there is no sentimental value. They would not have waited 2 years to mention it. My thought is the new property they purchased has very little trees, bushes, and they remembered the plants. Probably researched the price and realized how expensive they are. There is something buried under those bushes that they want back. Hydrangeas change color based on the soil pH. Go see if one is a different color than the others, might be treasure there. I would put an AirTag on the branches of one of them where it's hard to see, maybe wrapped in plastic so you can track them after they are stolen. Do not give them anything. Don't even contact them anymore after saying no. They just don't want to pay for new bushes. I would follow the advice of that one comment and get some security cams just in case the old owners try to steal them. You need to pay the hourly consult and have a lawyer draft up a letter letting them know that they have no legal claim to the bushes, that they legally sold them, and that the new owners have security cameras on the property. The real worry is that they poison the bushes, so you need to increase your camera along back fence lines and side yards. For sentimental value, cuttings are perfect. They can watch the new plants grow at their new place. Of course, it's not a sentimental issue, or it would have been addressed already. Then don't want to pay for full-grown plants. Why don't they take the fucking roof while they're at it? No, they can't have the damn landscaping. Rolling on the floor, laughing, rolling on the floor, laughing, rolling on the floor, laughing. I always believed it never hurt to ask. Maybe they just got to a place they can replant. Maybe they are only asking and it's not the end of the world if you say no. Maybe they are willing to cut a deal. Tell them, if they come onto the property, the police will be called for trespassing. It wasn't part of the sales contract. No go. Boo-hoo, Grandma's precious hydrangeas. By the way, we want plants for free for landscaping. My neighbor is best friends with the woman who we bought our house from, so she is often at parties in our neighbor's backyard. She kindly asked if we would let them know if we were going to get rid of a small pine tree, as her father had planted it. I thought this was a reasonable request. No, have them buy their own bushes. It's not like they can't buy hydrangea bushes elsewhere. You bought the house and property, they came with them. They should have bought that up when they were selling the place. That's a really odd request. If they've been there a while, they will most likely die if you move them. Just tell them sorry, that was part of the reason you bought the place to begin with. Stop being so nice. It is a hydrangea. Hydrangea cuttings are so easy to grow. You could cut a stem from each plant, throw each one in a pot, and they can take the pots. God, no. Or you could have some fun. Ask them what they plan to replace the hydrangeas. Or tell them you will be happy to have the local nursery come and suggest replacements to return the landscape to its current condition. Thinking between 5–10K. And you would have to hire the crew to remove the bushes so no one is injured in your property. Another few thousand. Bottom line, not a chance in hell. And if you don't have cameras covering both front and back, get them now. Yeah, that's a hard no. Maybe they'd like to come inside and rummage around the fridge to make themselves a sandwich while they're at it. Geez. People are so clueless as to acceptable behavior and acceptable requests. You signed a contract when you bought the house. And if those plants were supposed to be moved to the seller's new place, they would have put that in the contract. It's not normal for a seller to come back years after to ask for part of the property they sold you. When I sold my property, I had some plants of sentimental value. I took cuttings and rooted them before I moved. It sounds like they are just being cheap and trying to guilt you into giving them established, not cheap plants. I would not give them even a cutting. Just say no, they are not sentimental. Replacing them would cost you a lot if $. There are multiple ways to propagate hydrangeas. Just Google it. I've done it successfully a couple of times. Offer them some cuttings and be done with it. Digging up well-established hydrangeas could kill them. 2 years later, they can heartily go fuck themselves. That's easy. It wasn't in your purchase agreement. Then the answer is a firm no. Another alternative, if you're feeling especially kind, is to ask for compensation for replacements, since these mean so much to them. But I would price out fair market replacements professionally installed. Or you could end up with a mess. As Walter White once said, as is. Reminds me of tales I've heard about my home's previous owners. The man they bought the house from was so obsessive about the lawn that he'd come over when they were on vacation and set up the sprinkler. This poor family had no idea why their water bills were so high when they weren't using it at all, until someone told them what was happening. Some people are downright nuts. Seems like 6-7K compensation would give you a budget to redo your landscaping. Of course, only if that is something you would like to do. Sentimental things are expensive. Do not try to be gentle in your response. Do be clear and concise in your response. The landscaping was included in the purchase of our home. We are not able to give away the established landscaping we own. The end. You don't need to justify yourself. You bought the property including the plants. Sounds like they've bought a new place and found out how expensive full-grown plants are. I bought my first house at 21. About 6 months after we closed, some guy rang my doorbell at 7 a.m. and told me that Rosa said he could come by that morning to pick up the tarp in the shed. Apparently the previous owner left a tarp and some other misc crap in the shed in the backyard. I didn't want it, so I let him take it. But I was sure to tell him that he could let Rosa know that there was nothing left at the house that belonged to them. I say let them come take all the bushes and let them have a go with your wife while they are there. Why not? If it was some shit where they moved out like a week ago and asked to replace a bush for one of their sentimental ones, that may be a different situation, but to even give them a clipping ATP would be more than generous. I agree. They get cameras. Don't entertain the request. If you do, then they will have another one a few months later. Hi. Unfortunately, I can't give you the whole plants, but are willing to give you some cuttings. I absolutely would not give them the whole bushes. Maybe if they'd even asked for 1 or 2, I could almost understand. But all of them? No way. There is a tree my grandfather planted in my childhood home. I hope to one day visit and ask the people living there if I could get the tree, but I am planning on giving them a good chunk of money for the inconvenience and to pay for everything to make sure there isn't a mess left on the property. I wouldn't call them entitled exactly. They did right you to ask. And sure, they might miss them. As an active gardener, I know how much time, effort and money go into creating a beautiful garden. But that being said, you do not owe them anything. You legally own the property including all shrubbery, etc. If you do not want to part with the shrub, don't. If you feel badly about this, I suppose another option would be to have them plant new ones in their place or pay you for replacement shrubs. Anything attached, affixed, or rooted is included in the sale unless specifically excluded. We bought a house where some rare iris bulbs were excluded as well as an antique chandelier. The iris bulbs needed to be dug after the growing season, so the seller made arrangements with us to come back and get them. No big deal, but it was all part of the sale. There's even a section in most standard MLS forms for exclusions. I agree about putting up cameras. The request is plainly ridiculous, and you should say no. Do not let them come onto the property. When my parents bought our house, the past owners would just show up months later and ask if we could please give them plants from backyard or window treatments. It was wild. My dad finally had to get kinda aggressive with them to get it to stop. OMG, I know someone who had a similar situation. They bought a cottage, and the previous owner asked to take the flowers that were of sentimental value. My friend didn't say yes, but just replied with "we can discuss." And next time she went to her cottage, the flowers were gone and holes in the ground. If I had known the new homeowners of my old house was going to rip out all the fruit trees and tons of plants I had planted, I would have taken them all before moving. But I didn't have it stated in the contract, so just like this case, the old owner is out of luck. And you can do whatever you want with those plants.